Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk with Brian Poduska. I am Lyndon Wilson and the creator of The Difference, and I want to take just a few seconds to talk to you about the difference and what it is. The Difference is a digital media and video branding company that we have created to help small businesses, local businesses, entrepreneurs, people in the real estate industry, anyone that's out there hustling on their own to make it. We wanted to create a digital branding and video platform to help them get their voice out, help them get their message out, and help them increase their business, especially during these times of COVID when budgets are tight and traffic is not as great as it used to be. So that's what we do here at The Difference. I've got one of my good friends and business owner of Real Property Management Focus and the host of the show. I'm actually the co-host, but I get to introduce him. So I'm going to bring him in now. Good friend Brian Poduska. How you doing, Brian? There you are.
Great. How you doing, Lennon?
Man, I'm good. I'm really good. A lot of things going on here. As I said, we've got a brand new show starting next week, and a couple more probably going to be starting in December. We're up to about 10 shows a week right now, and we're really getting some traction, and I'm really happy with what we're able to help the small businesses do and help them connect and use this as a business development tool. So having said that and about The Difference, why don't you tell everybody now about Real Property Management Focus?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and I'm excited about the growth of the different shows as well. And The Difference, as a matter of fact, a little bit later in my show, we're going to bring in one of the new show members, and that is Greg Hawley. So we'll bring him in a little bit later. But right now, Real Property Management Focus is my company where we focus on your real estate investments. So we are a full service property management company, all the way from tenant finding to lease up to maintenance to eviction if necessary. So those are the basics of property management. And we do all that for single family, multifamily, residential, and small commercial. That being said, our key clientele are those investors who have multiple properties or are looking to dive into the real estate investment pool. So we have a pretty cool tool called Wealth Optimizer, which helps analyze potential investment properties from all different angles, not just a straight cash flow look, but it looks at it from all different angles. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but that is Real Property Management Focus in a nutshell. Today we have an awesome guest. Her name is Debbie Bloyd. She is the president of DLB Mortgage Services. And Debbie's been in the mortgage business for many years, and she also has a real estate license. So she's well versed in the real estate arena and the investment arena in particular, which is why I wanted to have her on today. And we'll get into talking about different ways to finance investment properties, creatively or not so creatively, whatever is the easiest for every given situation. Debbie can address that. So without further ado, let's bring in Debbie Bloyd. Hey,
Hi.
Debbie.
Hi, how are you?
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Excited to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's just start off by talking a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us about some of your background, how you got into the mortgage business, and then how you came to be the president and founder of DLB Mortgage Services.
Well, I have always been a numbers person and a money person. And so I started my mortgage business life as a loan officer with a bank about 26 years ago. And, that's before we had email, computers, everything. The fax machines weren't even out yet. And so everything was done in person, signed a few pieces of paper, you were good to go. We pulled credit reports, couldn't show them to you. We made the executive decision. The bankers were the gods then. And that has morphed into me working at a Keller Williams as their in-house loan officer to going out on my own. And then 2008 came. The processors that I had working for me were all moms. We all had small kids, and they wanted the summers off. And Brian, summers were kind of busy, so I had to change my model, and I went to work as an individual with net branch companies, to where I had full-time processors behind me. During COVID this last year, I had about 30 loans going at a time, and that's really a lot for one person. But back in the day, you could maybe do 10 or 12 loans a month. And the business itself has changed. And why I became a banker through part of it was just because in my local community, I lived in College Station at the time, and my kids grew up there, and I had a great relationship with the banking community. They hired me to handle their mortgage department, and everybody likes to build homes. They like custom homes in my town. And so we did a lot of construction loans, a lot of one-time closes, two-time closes, and I always had to refer that business out to another banker, because bankers are very segmented. Someone does consumer loans, someone does mortgages, and someone does construction and investment properties. So life was very segmented, but most of my customers wanted me to do everything for them. And so I learned to do different tasks as I went through the mortgage and banker life. And I essentially got a job up here in Dallas working for a bank. When my kids got out of high school, they're both now in college. My daughter goes to TCU, my son goes to Ole Miss. And I think I've continued to learn in the real estate market, because I have new agents that I train all the time of how to do a mortgage, what's important about a mortgage, what does credit mean. I've done my own radio show for about 11 years, and I do a podcast as well. So it's a great way to get out information. But the reason I went back out on my own as a broker is because I want to offer everything. I want to offer people that don't have good credit to teach them to have better credit and to get them loans. I want good loan people. I want high FICO people. I want investor people. I don't want to be limited in what I can offer. So now I get to offer everything except construction loans, and I still maintain those banking relationships. But there's a lot of people that want me for different reasons. They either want a first-time home buyer person that can help them and then help them get money for down payment. I have investment clients like yours. You've referred me a few people, and they just want to know how to double down and make the most of their real estate portfolio. And so I do insurance. I'm an insurance person as well. I do life insurance that also helps my clients buy more real estate. And you need a balanced portfolio of some money, some investments, some life insurance. And with some of the policies that are out there now, they can leverage that. You asked me ways to buy real estate. They can leverage those with loans and early withdrawals. A lot of insurance policies allow you to take 10% out a year without any penalty. You can buy investment property with it. So it's just not a one thing death policy now. It's a way to create the life that you ever wanted in real estate and security.
Awesome. Well, that's a great background. And yes, you're right. I have referred a few of my clients, either investment clients or just folks that are looking for a home purchase and a home loan. And I can firsthand attest to the fact that, yeah, you are kind of a jack of all trades, if you will. You do help people all across the array of different needs. And the one thing about you, I will say, you are a hustler. You pride yourself on always answering your phone, or if not, you return a phone call immediately, and that's awesome. So,
well, during COVID, this really did change the way a lot of people worked, and I've always kind of worked 24/7. So the better thing is that we can do Zoom calls and things like this, to where you don't have to be physically in front of somebody, and allows me to work a lot smarter with families. But being a jack of all trades kind of helps, because you don't want your financial planner to be telling you something different than a mortgage lender or your banker, because all those things have to feed on an overall financial picture. And most people don't separate them out. They go talk to their attorney over here, and then they talk to their CPA, and they get different information, and their CPAs write off all their investments and write off everything on their taxes. And then when they come to me, I can't help them buy a home because they've written everything off. So one guy did a great job, but now I can't help them on this side. So a lot of times people use me to get everybody in the same circle and let's figure out a good plan for them. There are loans out there now that I offer that banks didn't, like bank statement loans for my self-employed people that have too many mortgages or listed on their credit report. So now there's a lot of different things that we do that traditional banks just don't wrap their head around. I like to be able to help. I don't want to turn anybody away.
Absolutely. Awesome. Debbie, I have a real quick question for you.
Yeah.
Because just kind of what you mentioned and being around the industry as long as I have and seeing sometimes where the coordination of everybody's advice doesn't always mesh very well. Would you sort of, as a good analogy of this, it's kind of like every one of them is a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, right? And
yes.
if you've got one that doesn't fit, then the puzzle's not going to come out the way that we all want it to. And
it's from their perspective.
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So one thing, it's just like I was in credit repair for 20 years, right? So people would always ask me, I don't want to be in debt. And I'm like, no one wants to be in debt. And you don't really, there's only one person that benefits if you're in debt, right?
Right.
So, but if you want to buy a home, you have to have a credit score.
Right.
So how do you balance debt with credit? And so those are, and that's, that's where I feel like that everybody has to be on the same page, but the buyer or the seller has to understand what all the goals are, not just one.
Well,
do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. There's a lot of dirty words that are given out there. Credit reporting agencies have a lot of problems. A lot of people believe banks are evil, and they don't put their money in a bank. And so every year with all of my licenses, my securities license, my mortgage license, my real estate license, and my insurance license, I have to take a lot of money laundering classes. So I'm the best money launderer around. But I also have to, I don't go to jail. I don't want to go to jail, but I teach people how to put money into the system. So a lot of people think they can go and buy a house together as a family, and we can put 6 people's money together out of the mattress money and put it into a loan. And what I have to teach them is basic finances. So I used to teach junior achievement years ago, and little workbooks, and I feel like we need to go back to that, just basic financial literacy. And I did that with my kids. So when they each bought a new car, I said, I'll buy you the car. The deal is we're using your social, and you're going to get a credit score out of this. You've got to keep that car note for 6 months, and then you can pay it off. But if it doesn't stay on their credit 6 months, they don't get the score out of it. Right. So I got them tied onto my credit cards. So hopefully by the time they get out of college, they've got a good credit score now. They're going to have some money to invest. I've already started them little IRAs, so they understand saving. And they've had their own checking account since they were 15. So, it's more than just know what to do. It's and they always talk to their friends about it. And their friends don't know what a credit score is. And they say, well, my parents handle everything. Well, your parents aren't doing you any favors if they don't pass on the good works. The problem is, if you have a family that's not financially literate, they pass that on as well. And so I teach the parents as much as I teach the kids about money. I do a lot of reverse mortgages, and that's a dirty word, but it's not a dirty word if you use it correctly. I've had people cash out of a $600,000 house with about $400,000. They're in their 60s. They want to buy real estate. They buy rental properties. They take that money and they double down for cash flow. I've had people buy apartment buildings. Just because you do a reverse mortgage, if you know how to use it right, it can subsidize the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
You can also do a reverse purchase, which means instead of you buying a $400,000 house cash because you don't want any payments based on your age and the value of the property. I had a couple that sold their $1 million house in Austin, and they bought a $400,000 house. They were going to pay cash until they came to one of my workshops. And they said, well, if I did a reverse purchase, how would that work? And based on their age, they paid $180,000 house for a $400,000 house, and they saved that extra, $200,000 they gave to their financial planner and invested it. So there's a lot of ways we can move money around if you get the same mindset, which is to put you in a better position. And sometimes that means borrowing against your life insurance or borrowing about the equity of your home. I think Brian and I have seen investors that, what do they need to do to get more money to buy a rental property? They need to leverage what they have now, and rates have never been better. So this is the time to do a cash out on your primary house, take out all the money you can, and take that money and buy rental property. Now, before COVID, we could cash out of our rental properties up to 70%. Now, a lot of the lenders are not even allowing us to cash out of real estate rental properties. So the rules changed. You've got to make decisions fast because the rules are always changing.
Right.
That's an awesome segue, Debbie, because I do want to dive deeper into leveraging what you currently have to get more. So we're going to talk about that in our next segment on the show. So if you have $100,000 or more of equity in your home, listen up, because we're going to get into that. But first, before we do that, what I want to do is bring in another show host as part of the Difference family. Her name is Holly Haggard. She's going to join us for a few minutes and just talk about what her show is about and what's coming up next week. So Holly, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Hey, Debbie, I agree with you 100% that people should use their equity in their home that they have now to put themselves in a much better place. It's a great thing to do, because, and I think that a lot of people go back to, if I'm not reducing my interest rate more than 1% or more than 2%, then it's not a good deal. And that's absolutely not true these days. So I agree with you 100% on that. I've got so many people that I do the same thing with. I help them leverage their equity to put themselves in a better financial position.
Sure.
Today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, 30 years from now. And it's amazing when you can write something out and put it into a financial plan for somebody, for them to see it on paper, how you can use that equity that's just sitting there to your advantage. I love what you were saying about that. So I'm Holly Haggard. I am the host of the Good Humans series. And so basically what I do on my show is I bring people in that are trying to make a difference, people that want to do better, people that want to help other people, give ideas, and just help others. And so somebody that has a good heart, and that's what I look for whenever I bring somebody on my show. The past few shows that I've done, I've had some incredible people that are dealing with the backside of human trafficking and the rescue side of it, and then the aftermath of it. And it is heartbreaking listening to some of these stories. And so I'm hoping to have them on the show again next week. And then I've got a few other ideas that will come to fruition in the next couple of days, and I'm very excited about what's going to happen on next week's show.
Awesome. Well, Holly, I forgot because your show is very on point and on topic and deep topics, right? So what I forgot when I connected you in with Debbie is you guys are both financial gurus. You're both mortgage experts. So
Yeah.
we've got two of the same on the show, which is awesome. But
I love that. I love talking with other people that are in the same business, because we're all in it for the same goal, and that's to help people get into a better position in their life. And there's plenty to go around. There's plenty of people for me to help. There's plenty of people for Debbie to help. And when we can get people together that are in the same line of business to talk about different ideas, there may be something that Debbie will say or that I will say that will help the other say, oh man, I didn't think about that. That's a great idea. And then that makes us grow. And I really think
Everybody specializes in something different. I mean, I do some subprime stuff, and I know that's a bad word, but not so great credit. And I do bank statement loans, and those may not be things that Holly wants to dabble in. And we share, we can share clients back and forth.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, my company, we do the non-QM loans, which I know that's getting into technical terms, but bank statement loans, stuff like that. But we don't as much as we used to of it. And so knowing that you still do them and that you will do them, then that gives me a great source, and I would much rather refer somebody to an expert. I've done this. I've kind of shot myself in the foot where I've referred people to other people in the business that I didn't really know. I knew them, over the years or whatsoever, but I didn't really know their background as well as I should have before I referred a personal friend or a client, and it's kind of bit me in the rear.
Right.
So that I have other people in the business that I can bounce ideas off of, and that I can talk to and say, hey, I've got this great borrower and I really wish I could help them, but my program just doesn't fit what they need.
Right.
And then it gives me a source, and then I'm taking care of my borrower, because when it comes down to it, my main goal is making sure that the people that I work with are taken care of. And if I can't do it, then I'll be damned. I'm going to find somebody that
I'll
will.
call you and we'll talk, Holly. I feel the same way. Perfect.
You know what, ladies? I love
Lots of love here.
I love what you're saying, because when I created the difference, some of the things that we talked about on what makes the difference, I always said that you can compete in the marketplace without being enemies, because the minute that you think you're enemies, you give your industry a black eye.
Exactly.
And working together like that, and letting people that may be watching this show realize that it doesn't have to be a cutthroat world, and it's not a cutthroat world, that both of you are out there to make sure that whoever you're talking to is connected with the right person. If that's you, great. If it's someone else, that's great too. So I applaud you both for that. Awesome.
Well, everybody has a niche, and they don't always like to spread themselves too thin. First-time home buyers are great to help, but they take up a lot of time. You've got to be in the right mindset to want to lead them every single day, every step of the way. And, Holly or myself may not be set up for that. So it's always nice to see what other people like to do. Some people just find it a calling.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Lyndon, you kind of think about putting it into like a sports scenario. You look at football players that play on opposite teams, and yet they're still out there kneeling if one falls, or they're still out there helping, or hugging the other guy after the game is over, even if they lost or if they won.
Absolutely.
It's all about coming together and finding ways to help people instead of saying, oh, that person, oh, they don't go to them, they're awful, or oh, that company, they don't do a good job. That's one thing you will not hear me ever say is I'll compete and I will do a good job, but you're not going to hear me bashing another company, because I just feel like that brings me down. Even if they are not a good company, it brings me down, And so I think it's a huge advantage to loan officers that stick together, even if they're not working at the same place or they're not working on the same loan.
Yeah.
I think
your value in your industry is determined by consumer confidence. And if you're doing anything to spread doubt about your industry, all you're doing is lowering your value overall. And sooner or later, it's going to get you.
Yeah.
It all comes around. Yeah. Be careful. It all comes back around.
You got to be a good human, right, Holly?
Yes, that's right. You gotta be
That's right.
I need somebody to help me with my lighting. What's up with this? I look like a ghost on every show. I look like I have no features.
We'll work on that, Holly. We'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll get the lighting crew in there and
Thank you. I don't want people scared to talk to me,
She's iridescent.
There you go. You're glowing.
So.
All right. Well, that's that sort of discussion we just had is exactly why I love the difference, and I work with like-minded folks. I mean, Debbie and Holly, you guys are like-minded. You get it, right? And you get that you do business the right way, and it's not a competition thing. It's a you're lifting the industry, you're helping each other out, and as we've talked about on other shows, the more you give, it comes back tenfold. So I applaud you guys for having that mindset, and that's why you're in the circle. So Holly, thanks for jumping on the show today. I will let you go to your busy business and busy life, but look forward to your next show and all the deep topics you cover outside of just the mortgage business. I think what you're doing is fantastic, and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Next show is Wednesday at 3, right? Next show is Wednesday at 3, right?
Wednesday at 3, yes.
Okay.
All right. Great.
Thanks, Holly.
Bye. She's nice.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's
she
all
is.
right.
She's all right.
She's okay. No, she's a great lady. And I tell you what, just a real quick, Brian, without taking up much of your time.
No, you go for it.
When she started this, the Good Human series, that she had so many good ideas, and she brought this guy on, and I've said it before, it kind of took me by surprise. He couldn't allow his face to be shown. We could have his audio,
wow.
and because he's undercover, and the stories that they're telling, and the fact that this human trafficking is not something that's going on in third world countries. It's going on in our neighborhoods. And I've learned so much about it, and it's scary, but it's also encouraging that there's so many good people that are out there working on this, and saving these people and helping them get rehabilitated and reconnected with the world in the way that it's supposed to be. And so I really appreciate Holly and where she's allowed her show to go, because she feels like that's where she can really make the difference. And I didn't mean to plug that, but that's it really is convenient to be able to say make the difference with all the shows that we're doing.
No, that's the truth. That is definitely the truth. So I'm glad she could join us for a bit. Glad you guys got to meet Debbie. And what I want to do is pick up kind of where we left off before Holly joined us, and that is talking about the ability to tap into your existing equity, whether it's in your home or in other assets that you may have, in order to purchase real estate investment, right? And there's a lot of the things that we're trying to do is really reach out to folks and open their eyes to the fact that there are so many advantages that folks may not really know about on the real estate side of the investment portfolio, that especially given the markets and what they've done since COVID and the uncertainty that's going on right now, I'm sure that'll impact the real estate industry as well. And right now it's all been positive from a sales and an appreciation standpoint, at least in the DFW area for sure. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the discussion, but we have a tool with Real Property Management Focus called Wealth Optimizer. And that really is, it's a fancy or not so fancy brand name on the tool that really all it does is take a look at your potential property and what the benefits of that property is or are versus what your typical S&P 500 return would be, 7.5%, 8% over the long haul. So it takes a look not only at your cash flows, your income minus your expenses, but it takes into account what sort of depreciation you could claim to offset your taxable income. It takes a very dialed in approach to the market that you're looking at, the neighborhood that you're looking at, and what that appreciation value would look like. And it really rolls all those things together and shows you, okay, here's what your pro forma for the next whatever you want time horizon, 10, 20, 30 years looks like. Here's how it stacks up against what you could expect from the stock market. And it makes you hopefully feel real comfortable or uncomfortable about getting into a property and prevent you from getting into something that may not make sense. So that's a tool that we use. It's called Wealth Optimizer. And what I said is, coming into this or coming out of the last segment and into this one is, if you have $100,000 or more of equity in your home, you're in a very good position to leverage that into something much larger. And when I say much larger, that's in the real estate world, whether it's a single family home that's small, or like you mentioned, you've worked with folks that have used life insurance and different avenues to get into apartment buildings, right?
Yeah.
But who wouldn't want somebody else to pay for your investment? Cover your mortgage, cover your taxes, maybe get a little bit of positive cash flow out of it.
Yeah.
For free. Now,
Yes.
obviously, it's not for free. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I'm vastly oversimplifying. But who wouldn't want somebody to pay for your kid's college tuition if that's what you were using that investment for, or for your retirement potentially? If you can have other people pay for your stuff, that's ideal, right?
Perfect.
Brian,
Yes.
Brian, it's like at the seminar, and that was the thing that really hit me. And I've been around this for 25 years, but the guy's talking about, name one person that will go out and put $250,000 into the stock market on your behalf.
Right. Nobody.
But you can get a bank to loan you money and then get someone else to pay the note.
Exactly.
Perfect. Right. And we're going to have a lot more of that in the upcoming seasons. So I do believe that there's going to be some foreclosures on the market up here pretty soon for Brian's clients to take advantage of. There are people that have gone into forbearance because it was offered and they don't know what that means, and they don't know the ramifications of it.
Right.
You cannot refinance your home right now unless you catch your forbearance up. It's going to be a problem buying something if you've been in forbearance and selling it and getting to something else. And it's going to be interesting to see how the lenders all take this when it's over, because we do have a new administration coming on. Going to see what the new rules are going to be. President Trump extended everything until December, and at the end of the month it runs out in December. So we don't know what's going to happen next year. We don't know if you are going to maybe free up some money if all college tuition is free and they're going to forgive all the student loans. Those people that have been sitting on the sideline could be buyers now. The student loans prohibit you in a lot of cases from buying your first home, because even though you may not make the payments yet, or you have a small payment to make, we still as lenders have to count that whole thing against you. So it's not always easy for kids coming out of college at any age, 20s or 30s, to buy a home with student loan debt hanging over their head.
So I do have a question for you. I got a question for you, Debbie.
Yes.
Let's say that I had everything in forbearance, but I did put my house up for sale and sold it, took care of the forbearance. Am I then eligible to buy, or is there a waiting period?
No, you can buy after that. You just got to bring your forbearance up. Now, the lenders don't have a lot of people doing that right now. They've caught up, or they're out of forbearance, or they only did forbearance for a couple of months. But we don't know what that's going to look like on their credit. All that we know right now is I have clients that had to catch up their forbearance before they did a refinance this year. And it says the months that they were in forbearance. Well, what will that do when they go to purchase again? I don't know. The lenders will probably want to know, why did you take advantage of the forbearance? The people that did that a lot didn't have to do anything but call their lender and say, I want to go into forbearance. A lot of them I know personally, that were on the front lines, that were working. Their jobs did not change, but they took advantage of the forbearance. So what kind of a letter of explanation are you going to write that you took advantage of a situation where you really didn't have the authority to, and nobody stopped you? So that's going to go against them, I think, later on. But it just depends on how they view all this. I mean, it would be nice if they just scrapped all of 2020's credit and said, okay, hell with it, and we'll just start over again next year. But, a lot of people were late on their bills for a lot of reasons, and that goes against them when they go to buy a house. If they lost a job, or like I've got a friend that makes half of what he used to before COVID. He kept his job, but he makes half. Well, they're refinancing their house from a 15-year to a 30 because they really don't want to sell their house. They want to live in their home. They just need to make it manageable money-wise again. Right. And so rather than sell it, they've just going to re-amortize it to something better. And again, that's just shuffling the money around. They could sell it and cash out of a lot, but then they're going to have to buy something else, and that's going to take time too. So it's really kind of what everybody wants to do, the easiest option. And I think we're going to find out next year the easiest option probably wasn't a good option for everybody. There's going to be ramifications for it. A lot of people do have bad credit and they have to be renters. So the next couple of years are going to be great for the rental market. So if you want to be an investor, there's a lot of people that can't qualify. They got behind on their bills this last year. They can't qualify. Their credit's terrible. They're going to have to rent. They're going to have to lease purchase. Can't tell you how many people that can't qualify. I run ads all the time on Facebook for, do you qualify for no money down, USDA loans? No, they don't. Their credit is too bad. So they're going to have to be renters or lease to own. That would be a great way for you to get rid of a property that you want to make money on as someone continues to qualify.
Absolutely.
That's those are some great points there, Debbie. And I think there is going to be a ton of opportunity. And I wanted to get your outlook on things, and without getting too political, you just gave them. So I appreciate that.
Well, every president, so the stock market continues to do well, whether it's an elephant or a donkey in charge. So if we chart I've got a chart that shows the last 100 years of the stock market, it's going to go up and down in way, but it's going to conditionally get higher. My finger's going off the screen. Goes higher, goes that way, no matter who is in charge. So it's based on the economics of the businesses. But with this COVID thing and with the Democrats coming into control, it is going to be interesting to see if they keep businesses open or if we're going to do another lockdown, because that does affect the stock market and what happens to our investments. And the good thing about real estate investing is that you can kind of control your renters. You can buy and sell in different neighborhoods. You kind of control your money, so to speak. If you're in the stock market and Google takes a dive, or the businesses that you invest in get shut down or have problems because of COVID or other reasons, you really don't have any control over how that company runs. So I think real estate is a much safer buy right now for a lot of people. A lot of people have cash sitting on the sidelines, and they're going to take great opportunities, but they don't really want to pay cash going into the next few years. They want to leverage it while rates are still low. They're never going to be this low again.
Right. Well, and so with the opportunity that's going to present itself either January or probably Q1, maybe into Q2. Yeah. I think the next year and a half is probably going to have a lot of opportunity for folks that are in a good place financially and are able to, they have assets that they can leverage and take advantage of. So what I want to do is just kind of, I mentioned earlier, if you have $100,000 of equity in your house, how do I get poised and ready to take advantage of that and leverage it? So tell me a few of your
rules.
Yeah, well, rules for sure. But what tools? I guess tools and rules. What tools do you have in place that they can utilize? What rules are in place, and what do people need to start doing to get their ducks in a row in order to take advantage of that? And before I let you answer that, we've got another guest that's going to pop in. His name is Greg Holly. He's got a show that hasn't launched yet. It's coming out, I believe it's next week. We're going to bring him into the show. I see him on screen now. What's up, Greg? How are you, man?
Not much, man. Fired up to be here. I'm trying to I'm glad I'm on this week because I'm sitting here internally cursing at myself, trying to figure out how to get my get all the camera settings and get everything right and ready to go. And then the other thing I'm trying to figure out is what I'm supposed to do with the $100,000 that y'all are talking about throwing around for free.
Just give us the money. We'll take care of it.
You picked the right show to jump in on. Thanks for jumping in. I appreciate you coming on. And why don't you just give us real quick synopsis of your background, what you've got going on, and what your show is going to look like. If you've got a theme established yet, I know you're going to work out some of the. I mean, you look great. Your studio looks pretty cool. So I don't know what technical issues you have, but you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and a little bit about the show.
Yeah, I think the main piece of what the show is going to be, if I got to go off what we're doing right now, is going to be fake it till you make it. Right? Everything's not there. Everything's not in line. Yeah, a little bit of my background. I actually originally from upstate New York, as little as I like to admit that. So my background was there. Ended up on my side, was drafted by the Yankees out of high school. Decided not to go. Ended up going to TCU. Got down to Fort Worth. Met my wife. Played with the Milwaukee Brewers for 6 seasons from there. Saying all that to say, it was some cool experiences along the way. Played in Venezuela a couple off seasons, which I have story after story on that end. On our side, getting back to the show, the show piece is people that you've met along the way, whether now being on the business side, business owners, current, former professional players, coaches, organizational heads, some guys with some power and some pull, different sports as well. Use since it's the hot topic right now, the Dallas Cowboys figuring all their stuff out. Andy Dalton, good buddy of mine, now he's the quarterback with the Cowboys. Just guys that you can reach out to in a little bit of an inner circle. And then on top of that, man, wherever it takes you. I think some of these can get so stale, so stagnant with just all right, it's information. Hell, you got to do that, but I feel like there's got to be a component of a broken down on a personal level that people can relate to. And just a little bit that I've seen and going around, bouncing around, not saying I have this figured out by any stretch. Hell, I can't get my camera to work right. But hearing y'all are able to do that. And that's the cool thing. You're getting into something that, on the surface may seem like, hey, we're talking about, some real estate stuff or some finance deals, this and that. Okay. That's awesome. There's a lot of complexities of that. And where that becomes best, at least in my opinion, what we do now on the training side and with our teams and memberships, you name it, is getting it where you can break it down into layman's terms for people to be able to actually understand it. And hell, that in my mind is where you're going to earn some trust.
Yeah, man. No, that's a great point. And, that's what I'd like to get into in the last part of the show. And that's actually something that we're doing as a larger team. There's several of us, and we've talked about this on previous shows, but we're actually basically putting on a real estate investing 101. I don't want to call it real estate investing for dummies because it's not. But we've got a team of folks that are going out and doing seminars to really kind of boil the ocean down to say, look, this isn't as complicated as it may sound, or you don't need to be intimidated by it. And we've got a team of people to help you through that. So, and that's what we try to do is just among a ton of other topics that we talk about on the show, none of which have to do with real estate or financing or anything like that. But yeah, we try to keep it simple and hopefully not bore you too much.
Man, no, and I think too the point you brought up about it, getting into it with real estate for dummies or this for dummies. I don't know about y'all. I think we're in a slightly different spot. If we were the ones to come up with the such and such for dummies books, I think those guys are doing all right for themselves.
They cashed in.
Amen. If I could trade spots with them, I think I'd be doing this, and I think rather than a green screen behind me, I'd have palm trees and some like clear blue water or something.
There you go.
Anyway,
they missed the punch on that title, didn't they?
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, A, and I don't want to go this as a chance right now. A, I appreciate you doing it, and B, you let me keep talking. It's got a chance for me to go off into God knows where and ruin your show that seemed to be rolling pretty good. But I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, be Wednesdays at 1. If you want to see a really, really, really interesting thing, check in on next one at 1 or next Wednesday at 1 before I start figuring the thing out.
It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be entertaining. That's for sure. And Greg, I do love your green screen, by the way.
Well, there you go. And all this camera trouble I've had, maybe if I just use my computer, it works all right. But either way, man, Brian, I definitely appreciate it. And thanks again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for jumping in, and best of luck on your first show.
You got it.
Later, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. We are back, and Lennon, I don't know. Oh, there you are. I was going to say
I'm back here. I got there's a new feature to the software. Before I could not be off camera and you hear me. So I'm practicing with that a little bit now.
Okay.
So if I want to get up and go get a drink or, maybe go watch something on television while the show's going on, I can do that and no one will ever know.
Wardrobe change, whatever you need.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. Let my dog out, whatever it may be.
The beauties of the 2020 technology, right? All right.
Absolutely.
Well, what I want to do, it was awesome that Greg could jump in on the show, but what I want to do is get into some of those details about, and we don't have to get into many details because we've got about 10 or 15 minutes left on the show. But I want, Debbie, if you could just walk folks through, what are some folks, what are people's options to leverage that? I keep throwing out the number $100,000, but it's kind of arbitrary because you don't need $100,000.
No. So right now, when you buy a property, you have to have 20% of the value of the property value. So you've got to put 20% down. Years ago, we did 5% down. We did no doc loans, low doc loans. Now it's very vanilla. It's 20% down. You've got to have good credit. Now good credit is considered 640 or above, not 620. It's moved up to 640. If you're self-employed, things get a little dicier because it depends on how your tax returns are. If you have tax returns that you write everything off, then you're going to have to do a bank statement loan because you can't qualify based on the adjusted gross income that you have. Because most everybody, if you're a plumber and you make 300,000, you tell them you make 40 and you don't have to disclose the rest to the IRS. And then you have to do a bank statement loan. The interest rates on those for investment properties are in the 7s. It's not pretty, but you're not disclosing your tax returns. So if you're a mom and pop business owner, you want to buy a personal house on tax returns, you're looking at 5%, 6% interest, and 20% down right now. If you buy investment properties, one of the biggest things is your debt. You've got to make sure that really all your bills are mostly paid off because you've got to qualify for the house you own, taxes and insurance, the house that you're buying, taxes and insurance. And if you're buying an investment property, you do get to use the lease money. If you have it already leased, that can help you qualify for more as well. But there's something called reserves, and that's where a lot of people get stuck. Reserves is money over and above your down payment. And so they want you to have 6 months reserve of taxes and insurance on all the properties that you own. So if you own 5 properties, you've got 5 properties that you've got to qualify principal, interest, taxes, and insurance on. That money doesn't have to be liquid. It can be in a 401k or an IRA, but it has to be out there. So where we fall a lot of times is you've got the 20% to put down. You just don't have the extra stuff behind you to front all the leverage that they're asking for. Last year, it was a different story. This year, they want 6 months on each property. That is a hindrance for some people to buy a property. But you can have moms and dads help you buy a property. You can have family members. I've had 2 sets of two brothers and their wives buy investment properties together. The one thing that is kind of fun is a 1031 exchange. Now, a 1031 exchange, you can own a property and you, instead of paying capital gains on it and taxes, you put it in a 1031 exchange account, and then you can use a little bit of that money on 2 or 3 different properties and really redistribute your income, your wealth, and your risk over 3 properties full of renters rather than just one big something over. So it's kind of like balancing your portfolio with your investments. Sometimes if you have a lot of equity in a big property, it's just easier to do a 1031 exchange, sell the place, and start over with smaller, newer properties. Older properties are going to be rented at some level, but they don't always cash flow the best because you can't charge the highest rents. Renters now are pretty sophisticated. They want nice stuff. And you really have to charge. And Brian, you can help people determine what they can charge on rental properties. But if the property isn't in pristine order, they're not going to get top dollar.
No, that's for sure. And I've actually had quite a few clients, that I'm working with now to do just that, get a brand new home, and for the sole purpose of renting it out. Your maintenance costs are zero for the first year, really, essentially, and beyond that, it's very small percentage of the total value of the home. So it's actually a great value here in the DFW area. It's not true for every part of the country, but
Right.
it is great avenue because of the strong school system up here, can command a pretty good rental rate. So, yeah, no, that is a great point, as far as, the ability to, get out of one large potential rental property, turn it into 3 or 4, and do it all tax free. Now, I know there's some talk of the new regime and some of the revision or the funding plans that might affect that 1031, but we're not going to talk about that on this show.
We don't even know. I mean, even as lenders, so like I got an email out this morning saying that one of my biggest lenders in the nation is now requiring my self-employed borrowers to have a 760 FICO score. Most self-employed people do not have this most stellar credit because they're juggling their personal money and their business money, and they're usually not in 2 different pots. There's a lot of commingling going on. So what that tells me is that they don't want self-employed people at their company because they make it really hard. So as lenders do not want businesses, like there's only one lender right now that's really doing manufactured homes. Nobody wants to finance them, just like nobody wants to finance certain types of rental properties either. And they require so much down or so much reserves that really dissuades a lot of people from doing it. And that's how the mortgage industry really regulates itself.
Gotcha. Well, we're kind of up against it on time, but we've got a few more minutes. And what I wanted to do and make sure that it was clear for folks, I've got 2 things to do really. Ask you a question and get your advice on, as we're getting into next year and as the market will offer opportunity, what is the key first step or a couple first steps for somebody to get in position to take advantage of that opportunity? What is the biggest thing?
Tax returns. Tax returns are the biggest thing. That adjusted gross income, if you write too much off your taxes, you're losing buying power. But some people would rather lose buying power and not pay it all of the IRS. So there's a fine line. Usually it's me talking with the CPAs a lot. And then to consider your income stream to be increased if you start pulling money out of your investments. If you start taking at least a couple months of money worth out of your IRA or your 401ks, that shows that that's an increased revenue stream for you. But you have to do it a few months in advance before you need it. So you don't wait until you buy a house. You come to me 3 or 4 months before, and we put your finances in order so you can buy a house. And that's for investment property as well. Sometimes you benefits, if you're new to being retired, you haven't really started all your pensions and Social Security benefits, you've got to do that first. So a lot of this is hanging on to bank statements, large deposits, cash influxes. I just need to figure out what you're doing with your money, and it's never right. And we have to straighten you out. Give me a couple months to straighten you out, and then we can get you. I've got to fix your money laundering problem, and then we can get you to buy rental property.
Debbie, is 3 or 4 months enough for a self-employed person to really kind of get everything in order, or is that a rush job for you, or would it be better if it was 6 months, 12 months, if you kind of knew what you wanted to do?
It depends on what they've done to themselves. Like I have self-employed people that they use their personal account as their business account, and we really got to separate those out. You have to show a track record of something. And so if you've had a crappy track record for 20 years, it's probably going to take a little while to turn around that big barge. And give me a year to do that. And also to sit down with your financial people that you already have working for you. Another problem is a lot of self-employed people do their own taxes. And that's a huge red flag and a problem just on how they do their numbers. So again, depending on what you've done to yourself before, what I find is my self-employed borrowers have a lot of money. They don't take care of it very well because that's not their focus. Their focus is to be a plumber or to be a builder or to be whatever. And it's not to do bookkeeping.
Right.
And so that's their weak point. So if we can shore that up a little bit 6 months in advance, they're gonna look a whole lot better for lenders.
One quick question on credit. I know you mentioned and being in credit repair for 20 years, the majority of the people that I had were self-employed people.
Sure.
But a lot of times it wasn't because they didn't pay their bills. One of the number one things is that a lot of them would have maxed out credit cards every month because that's how they were operating. And they would pay them
Still
off. Yeah, they would pay them off. So they were making their payments. They weren't behind. They weren't even stringing out a balance. They were paying it off. The thing is that they were paying it off after the report date. So it looked like that they were running a 100% balance.
Right.
Is that
And so
something
we
that you
can
see a
fix
lot?
that. Yeah, and we can fix that. There's credit supplements that we can do. There's also, you can pay things off a couple months in advance, and we just
Mhm.
stop the credit flurry of activity a couple months before we need the credit, and that straightens out a lot of their credit reports. I have a gentleman right now that I'm going to pull his wife's credit again tomorrow before we start the loan, because it'll go up about 30 points. He was in charge of paying off bills, and he just left her balance at above 50% of the available amount, and her credit score is lower than what we want.
Right.
So it's just a matter of, do you want more money in savings, or do you want more money going towards your credit cards? It all depends. It depends on what shape you're in and what number we're trying to get to. So if you pay things off in advance, you have to wait that billing cycle, or let me do something called a quick score. And I can help clients do that as well. So if you pay something off, you got to show me what account it came out of. So if you do something within the first couple of months before you buy a home, everything is scrutinized. If you do something 6 months before you buy a home, nobody scrutinizes you. So if you're money laundering and you've got cash to pay off bills, you do that 6 months before you need it, not 2 months. Because if I can't prove where you get the money, then that just screws up the deal.
You hear that?
I'm taking notes right here. I've got it all written down.
That's the key takeaway from all of this that we talked about today. 6 months.
Right. 6 months, money laundering. Got it.
Lay off the laundering within 6 months.
Yes. Quit playing in the cash world 6 months in advance. Right.
Awesome. Well, I think we are up against it. Before we leave and say goodbye to Debbie, and thank you for being on today, Debbie. I think it was really insightful. I need to mention our sponsor, and that is Liberator Health Insurance. You've seen the splash screen in the bottom. There it is, right there in the bottom left corner of my screen, and Greg's information has been scrolling on the bottom. But I'm going to read a little bit and provide a little bit of background on Liberator Health Insurance and why it's different than everything else out there. It is that time of year to get signed up if you're with the marketplace, but Liberator Health Insurance offers an alternative to that. Liberator Health Insurance has plans that allow you to see any doctor and go to any hospital in or out of network. You can save 40 to 60% on your premiums. Liberator just insured a family of 4 with great benefits for $475 a month. Amazing.
Yep.
Wow.
Those plans offer the largest PPO provider network in the United States. It covers hospitalization, surgeries, doctor visits, preventative health screenings, teledoc, x-rays, MRIs, labs, emergency rooms, urgent care, and a lot more. That's pretty much everything that's out there. So with the recent changes in the healthcare laws, you're now free to choose a health insurance plan that fits your needs, not some expensive government-mandated one-size-fits-all program. For more information and to get a quick quote, call our guy, Greg Holdberg, independent health insurance broker, at 214-886-4688, or visit his website at www.liberatorhealthinsurance.com. As you see on the scroll, that is Liberator. Check him out. Greg's an awesome guy. He will hook you up. He's very knowledgeable.
I wrote the number down. Yeah, I got it.
There we go. New client already. You got Debbie.
I will. He was on your show, and I was blown away by the alternative that they have to some other standard insurance programs that are out there that are 3-4 times as much as what he's charging. So very cool.
Absolutely. And let me point out too, it's not just individual health insurance. He has plans for small businesses. That is our our key target audience. So Greg can set you up with a plan for your business as well.
All right.
Lennon, I think we're up against it. It's 2:00.
Yep, that's it, man. We're out of time.
Getting the hook. Well,
Thanks, guys.
Debbie, again, thank you for joining us. It's been
Thank you,
extremely insightful. If you need any sort of help in getting into that poison ready stage, look Debbie Bloyd up, DLB Mortgage Services. She's the president and founder of that company. She's awesome. She's a hustler, and she will get whatever you need to get done and done right and quickly. That's it. Lennon, you got any parting words?
I don't. Great show, Debbie. It was great meeting you. Thank you for teaching me how to launder money. I've always wanted to know and was too scared to do it. But no, I've been around for a long time, and self-employed people struggle. And I think that having you as a resource is important. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That's it, man. We'll see everybody next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
The Difference is a proud supporter of the following nonprofits. Creek and Timber Legacy, providing outdoor learning, hunting, and firearm therapy for veterans, first responders, and children with serious illness. You can find more info at creekandtimberlegacy.org. And Sharp Shoes. Through local schools and shelters, Sharp Shoes helps provide new shoes for countless needy people and their families. You can find more info at sharpshoes.org.